This is just Shorts Photography. This is a hub that we all give each other tips as photographers, from beginners to experts, on how we retouch our pictures, at the same time how we shoot our pictures in studio and on location. So today I'm going to be sharing with you how we color grade our pictures using the tools that are built in Photoshop. Without further ado, let's start. Well, for the first thing first, I'm going to toggle off these layers. So this is our final picture. I'm going to toggle off these layers so that we see where we started with our picture. So this is our background picture with all the blemishes, without the skin being retouched. So what I want us to do now is for us to know that for us to have a picture like this, there is a first step that we do. Let's open a picture straight from camera so that we see what we can do with the picture. So I'll go here and open the picture, the very same picture. This is the picture that we have. Yes, this is the picture that we have. It's straight from camera. As you can see, it was shot with a Canon 80D with an aperture of 2.8, shutter speed of 1/100, then an ISO of 100 at a distance of 82 mm. Now, what we do first is we adjust these pictures straight from camera to the levels that we want so that we can start working on the picture, or we can start retouching it. So for me, the first thing that I do, I play around with temperature. As you can see, my picture is more greenish, so I play around with temperature so that I can have a picture that is less of green. So I'll move my temperature bar or slider to a level of around 6.9. Let me just type 6.9. Yes, as you can see, there is a change between 5 point something to 6.9. Then with my tint, I lower it, I pump it up a bit from -21 to around -2, around -2, like that, -2. Then I go to my exposure. As you can see, my picture is a little bit darker, so I pump my exposure to the level that I think it's really okay for me, because there is so much of retouching that I'm going to do, so I don't want my picture to look dark. So I'll move my bar to around 90. Then I'll leave the contrast like this because I'm going to do a color grading again after retouching, so that I can bring back the contours and the blacks. So I'll move here to highlights so that I can bring out all the beauty of the makeup. So let me pump up my highlights a bit to around +8, like that. Then I'll move to my blacks. I'll lower down my blacks like this to around 19, 20. It's okay like that, around 18, 19, the value that you see that it's really okay with what you want. Then I'll go to my clarity. I usually pump my clarity to around 4, depending with the image. If I've shot it closely, I pump it up a little bit to around 4 so that my image is more clearer and I have more clarity to an image. Then with vibrance, I just pump my vibrance a bit. It's not really much of a big difference, but I just want to pump it to around 3. Then let's see the difference between the image that is straight from camera and the image that has been adjusted on camera raw. This is the first step of camera raw. So this is the difference. We have moved from this picture to this. So there is really a big change with our image straight from camera and the one that has been adjusted with camera raw as the first step. Now I open image like that. Let me crop it like this. I've just used the labels, the measurements of Instagram that I always use, the ratio of 4:5. Then I just press enter here. Let me zoom in a bit so that we can see the changes that we are doing here. So if you look closer to this picture, the first thing that we do when we have a picture like this is we duplicate the layer. So that we can work on the blemishes. We can work, you see here that there is a nail had fallen, so we duplicate the layer so that we can work on the blemishes and adjusting some of the things that we may want to adjust. As you can see here, this is the one way that I use to add the nail, but it's not really what this tutorial is up for. So this is what we just do. It's not really what we are up for. So now let's go straight to what we want to do. We are not going to waste our time removing all these blemishes, but let me go directly to the image that we had already done, the image that is polished already, so that we can go straight to color grading. Now, so this is the layer, the second layer that we use to remove all the blemishes. As you can see, if I toggle it on like that, we now have the nail here. We have all the blemishes that we were having have been removed. It has been worked on. Now we move to the frequency separation. Let me toggle on the layer for frequency separation. This is the layer for frequency separation. As you can see, there is a big change from what we were having at the first when we have removed the blemishes and to a time when we did our frequency separation. Now our skin is more smoother and more lovely to the model. So if we toggle off frequency separation, this is what we have, and this is now frequency separation. It doesn't end like this now. We are now moving to the main core of our subject for today, which is color grading. So if I toggle this layer, you can see that there are changes that we have. The tone of the skin has changed from a pale tone to a more rich skin tone that we have now. So this is how do we get this skin tone, this one that we have here. Let me delete this layer so that we can all learn from what we have done here. So let me create another layer for the image. So this is the image that I have without being color graded. So I'm now moving on to color grading. How do we color grade this picture? We move to the second stage of camera raw. The first stage was taking the picture straight from the camera. Now, after we have done our frequency separation, we create a layer so that we can do a color grading, color grade our picture. We move to camera raw filter. This is our camera raw filter. I want to create a before and after so that we can see the changes that we'll be putting on our image, so that you can actually see that this is what is really happening. Now, I'm not going to do so much about this because I'm only going to move to my calibration. This is my calibration. This is where I work on colors. So the thing that we have to know now with calibration is, let's understand how colors work. If you mix certain colors, they will give you a certain color. Like if you mix red and green, they will give you a brownish color. So this is the technique that is used. We have been using this technique when we were painting back then in kindergarten. Now it's something that you have to apply in photography when you are doing color grading, so that we can come up with rich skin tones that we desire to have in our photography. Now I'll go to my reds, then I move my hue a bit to +1. I don't want to put much because this picture was shot with a Canon camera, and Canon cameras have more reds, so I don't want to add a lot of it to to the image. Now I'll go to saturation. I'll move it up a bit to +9. Now my focus now is not on the skin only. It is more focused more on the dress as well, because here the dress is not really popping. So I added a saturation of the reds, not to target mostly the skin only, but also the dress that the model was wearing, so that it really pops and comes out with a nice color. Now we move to our greens. Our greens now focuses much on the skin. We go to the hue. I lower my hues to -3, then and add a little bit of saturation to +6 or 7. This is okay like that. Then I go to the blues. Then on the blues I just play around and add a value of +5-ish there, around 3 is okay. Then its saturation, I lower the saturation a bit to -5, 6, 7. Yeah, if you play around with 5, 6, 7, let me just put it on 6, like that. So this is what we have after we have color graded our image. This is before, this is after. This is before, this is after. You can actually see that the dress now is now more popping than before. If you see now our skin, now we have added some contrast to our skin, and we have added some more color, more tone to our skin, so that it really pops. Then I press OK here. This is what we have now. This is the before, this is the after. This is the before, this is the after. After this camera raw filter, we can add one or two things that we may want to add to our image according to your own preferences. So according to me, I'm seeing this image is I need to add some highlights more to this image. So I will create a levels layer like this. Then let me just toggle this levels layer so that you can actually see what it happens. So if you create a levels layer, I put a value of 2 minus. This is what it was when it doesn't have the levels. So you just pump it about a bit to around 216 like this, 216 to 18. This is the value that was there. This is now the image that I have with the levels, adding some more light to the image and giving it more life, because when it's like this, a little bit dull. So if you add the levels, your picture will have more life. Now let me tone down a bit of this is more extra. Let me just tone a little bit. Let me add some cooling to the image. So this is the before and this is after. This is the cooling filter. This is the cooling filter. So this is all about what we do using this, and then I'll just add this. So my logo just shows photography. So this is all we do with the camera raw filter. It's just really a great tool of photographers, whether you're a beginner or you're an expert. It's one of these things that with color grading, it gives you an edge with your pictures, and it really makes your pictures pop, and it gives them the color that they really deserve to have. So if at any point that you don't use the color lookup tables, you can use the camera raw filter. It is really a great tool that comes with Photoshop, and you don't even have to buy this one. So you can as well start with the camera raw filter and make your images so beautiful. So with the camera raw filter, this is all what we came with on this image. Thank you guys for taking your time to watch this tutorial. Hope we'll meet again in the next tutorials.